U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff's leaked phone calls with top Kremlin figures have sent shockwaves through Donald Trump's Ukraine peace team, raising serious questions about the integrity of the Backchannel negotiations and the motives driving them. Transcripts of those conversations reveal Witkoff actively coaching Moscow on how to frame their arguments in a way that would resonate with Trump's personal style and political priorities, a move that instantly set off alarm bells across Washington and European capitals. The leaks included detailed records of Witkoff's conversations with Vladimir Putin's powerful foreign policy advisor Yuri Ushakov, as well as with Putin-aligned financier Kirill Dmitriev, showing how deeply he was engaged with Moscow's inner circle during the talks. European officials, meanwhile, openly mocked Witkoff as Dummkopf, pointing to what they described as his complete lack of diplomatic experience and his apparent eagerness to please the Kremlin, according to reporting in The Telegraph. Ukrainian officials also raised concerns, saying Witkoff's unusually warm ties with Russian insiders had raised red flags right from the beginning, long before the leaks made the issue impossible to ignore. Now, multiple Western capitals believe the leak likely came from someone with access to both US and Russian communication channels, suggesting an insider who wanted to sabotage the peace plan from within. Yet despite all the backlash and internal frustration, Witkoff continues to serve as Trump's primary intermediary with Vladimir Putin, keeping him firmly at the center of the controversial diplomatic effort. The White House's confidential 28-point peace proposal ignited a fierce and silent power struggle between the State Department and Trump's inner circle, exposing just how divided the administration has become over Ukraine policy. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was kept completely in the dark about the plan despite his senior role, intensifying suspicions around who controlled the negotiation drafts and who was being sidelined. According to The Telegraph, the State Department had no input into the proposal yet still enjoyed full access to its drafts, an unusual arrangement that raised immediate concerns about internal leaks. Rubio later blasted the plan as nothing more than a Russian wishlist, strongly implying that someone inside the system may have deliberately leaked it to derail the process. Adding to the confusion, the Secretary of State suddenly claimed the US had authored the document, a dramatic U-turn that only deepened doubts about how the plan was created and who was shaping it behind the scenes. This reversal fueled widespread suspicion inside Washington and highlighted the intense internal fractures within Trump's foreign policy apparatus, especially among officials aligned with Ukraine. Several pro-Ukraine aides are now believed to have leaked elements of the draft intentionally to prevent what they saw as an overly pro-Russia settlement from taking shape, according to the report. In Moscow, powerful hardliners concluded the proposed deal was unacceptable not only for Ukraine but also for Russia's nationalist factions, who believed it compromised too much for too little. Putin began the 2022 invasion expecting a rapid and decisive victory, yet 3 years later controls only around 20% of Ukrainian territory, creating mounting pressure inside the Kremlin. The plan may have tilted toward Moscow, but it also offered Ukraine unprecedented security guarantees, protections similar to NATO's Article 5, that would prevent Russia from launching any future invasion, fundamentally changing the balance of power. Those guarantees, if implemented, could effectively obligate the United States and Europe to directly defend Ukraine, something Russia's hawkish elites consider an absolute red line, according to reports. Hardliners feared the deal would lock Russia into a long-term stalemate, cementing the current front lines without delivering a decisive victory, making it unattractive to those seeking full control of Donbass. Sources say Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov strongly dislikes Kirill Dmitriev and may have used the leak to publicly embarrass him, weakening rivals inside the Kremlin. By leaking the draft, hardliners likely aimed to kill any agreement that did not include complete Russian control over Donbass and other regions, ensuring negotiations would collapse before reaching a final stage. Across Europe, frustration surged as officials believed the original plan granted Russia excessive concessions that could legitimize Moscow's land grabs and undermine years of Western support for Kiev. The leaks caused major embarrassment for the White House and forced Trump's team to rewrite significant portions of the proposal in response to international outrage, reshaping the entire peace framework. One European government accused Witkoff of showing undue leniency toward Moscow, arguing that his approach risked undermining Europe's united front against Russian aggression, according to The Telegraph. For many European allies, the leaks seemed designed to derail a deal they saw as dangerously favorable to Russia and to prevent any premature settlement that rewarded military aggression, as per reports. The leak successfully helped mobilize opposition across Congress and European governments, ultimately pressuring Washington to adopt a more Kiev-aligned 19-point plan. Ironically, the only major player to refuse praise for the revised deal was Russia itself, suggesting the leak had achieved exactly what its orchestrators intended by destabilizing the entire negotiation process. During a high-level meeting in Kiev, U.S. Army Secretary P. Driscoll delivered a stark and sobering assessment of Ukraine's battlefield prospects, warning that the situation was becoming increasingly difficult. Driscoll told Ukrainian officials that Russia is accelerating the tempo of its aerial attacks, intensifying pressure on frontline units as winter approaches and resources grow strained, according to NBC News. He warned that conditions on the battlefield are likely to deteriorate further over time, with Ukraine facing mounting challenges as Russian forces adapt and expand their capabilities, NBC reported. The U.S. delegation also cautioned that America's defense industry cannot sustain Ukraine indefinitely at the current level of support, signaling a looming shift in the long-term military balance.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.